Oh, there you are. Good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't notice you right away. I am so captivated by how enormous and magnificent this place is. What have you been up to? I'm happy to have you back in my class again. I'm feeling excited today because I have a lot of new information to share with you. In our online learning engagement today, we will be focusing on this most essential learning competency. Appraise the unity of the plot, setting, and characterization in a material viewed to achieve the writer's purpose. Our sub-skills are the following. Read closely to get the author's purpose. Explain how the elements specific to a genre contribute to the theme of a particular literary selection. We will be using the strategic, localized, and interactive intervention material offered by Marife M. Sleta of Canumay West National High School. Are you ready? Excellent. Before we go on with our lesson, I know you're already aware of the do's and don'ts in our virtual classroom, but I'd like to remind you again. Don't forget to be polite, avoid unnecessary comments, and remember to think before you click. You can ask questions or clarification that are related to our lesson. Just take note of them, and I will be glad to address your queries later after the discussion in the question and answer part. Now, I'd like to know where are my learners coming from. So please key in the word present, your section, and the name of your school for the attendance, and for us to monitor the number of active learners I have now online. Start keying the word present. All right, our moderator is now checking on your attendance. Are you now ready to watch and listen attentively? Awesome. I have a short video that I want you to look at. And these are the important points that you need to take note of. Write it down. What has happened that changed everything? Who is narrating the story? What is the overall message of the story? Get a notebook and a pen to take note of important details. Ready? Let's watch this.
Before lockdown, we had school. People went to work. There were cars in the road. I could visit my grandmother and eat her food. I played with my friends. My mom and I went to the shops and bought groceries. My dad and I went for coffee. People met each other socially. Families gathered. I made plans to go on holiday to meet my family in Pakistan. Now coronavirus has spread in the world. I am sad about not seeing my friends and family. So many people have passed on. Thousands are sick. We can't go to shops and work. People are losing their jobs and money. Poor people are getting more hungry and helpless. I feel angry sometimes when you want to do something and it's not allowed. I feel happy that the world and myself have got to have a break. Nature is flourishing again because not many people are out of their house. There is less pollution in the world. Everything out there seems peaceful. Animals are safe. There is less noise on the roads. When the lockdown is over, I will be able to go to the beach. My friends and I will meet again. Schools will open. People will go back to work. Poor people will get more help from those who have. I am worried that the pollution will increase again. I wonder if humans have learned anything about taking care of our planet. Will we take care of animals? Will we respect one another more? I wonder.
Did you enjoy watching the video clip? I did too. Let's talk about some important points in the short film. What has happened that changed everything? If you know the answer, type it in the comment box. Precisely, a viral disease has started spreading, which has become a global pandemic. Who is narrating the story? Were you able to take note of that? Very good. The story was told firsthand by the boy who shared his experience about the pandemic. What is the overall message of the story? This pandemic gave nature time to rest and breathe. Yes. The boy is hoping that soon, once the lockdown is over, things will go back to normal. He is also wondering if humans have learned to take care of the planet and the living things in it, and will start to respect one another. Excellent. Maybe the boy in the short film is just like every one of us, who's hoping for things to get better soon. You're making my job easy. You did pay attention. Since we are talking about a story, where do you think I am? I'm in a library. You're right. And what do we usually do in a library? Read books, precisely. This is Strahov Library in a Prague monastery. Prague is the capital and the largest city in the Czech Republic. But books and architecture aren't the only attraction in this library. The art on the ceiling is the main event. Amazing, right? Let's stay here for a little while. Going back, in connection with the story you have recently watched, let's think about this question. What makes up a story? Most of you would be thinking about the people or animals that play significant roles in a story. They are called, if you know the answer, key it in the comment box. So, how do we call them? Characters. Good job. What else can you think of? If you know other components that make up a story, comment your answer below. I can hear someone from the other end saying setting or settings. Wow, that's great. Setting is another element that makes up a story. This tells us the time and place. That's amazing. I hear you. Theme is also an element, and this is the central idea of the story. We also have the plot. Well, this presents the sequence of events. I think somebody is trying to reach out. Yes, that's right. Let's not forget about the conflict. This particular element is the problem or struggle faced by the character or characters in the story. I am impressed. You do have a good background. But how do we identify these elements? Students like you will have learned to identify the basic elements in stories by answering simple questions about the people or characters in the story and the events that happen, right? And it is really important for someone who reads a story to be able to identify the elements in it. Maybe you're not wondering anymore why we are talking about this in the first place. You're learning fast. We will be discussing about story elements. So to begin with, let's first define the word story. A story or a narrative is a connected series of events told through words, written or spoken, imagery, still or moving, body language, performance, music, or any other form of communication. You can tell a story about anything, and the events described can be real or imaginary, covering both fiction and nonfiction, and leaving no topic, genre, or style untouched. There are stories about all things and all times, past, present, and future. Whenever you're telling somebody about a series of events, you are actually telling them a story, no matter what the subject nor when they occurred. As such, stories are of great value to human culture and are some of the oldest, most important parts of life. Moving forward, let's talk about the basics first, and later we will proceed on discussing the advanced elements. You ready? Awesome. Use your learning pocket and join me in reading the definitions. The first element is the setting. A story setting refers not only to the physical location, but also to the time the action takes place. It is the where and the when of a story. Setting represents both the physical location, but also the time. For example, past, present, and future, and the social and cultural conditions in which the characters exist. Another basic element is the character. Depending on the nature of the story, characters are the most often people or animals. Writers or use characters to perform the actions and speak the dialogue of a story. They move a story's plot forward. They are the who of the story. A person or animal, or really anything personified. There can be one main character or many, and often there are secondary characters, but not always. Characters can also be categorized into protagonists and antagonists. Protagonists are the good guys, the heroes and the heroines. And the antagonists are the bad guys or the villains. Next is the element that relates to the events that happen in a story. We call it the plot. It can be further divided into sub-elements such as introduction or exposition, where the characters are introduced to the readers, rising action, the events leading to the climax, climax, the most exciting part or the highest point of interest, falling action, the events leading to the ending, and resolution or denouement. It is the what of the story. Plot usually begins with a problem and ends in the story's resolution. In other words, plot is a sequence of events in a story that force a character to make increasingly difficult decisions, driving the story toward a climactic event and a resolution. Identifying the plot of the story can help you in writing a summary of the narrative. One of the most important elements of a story is the conflict. Conflict can be thought of as a challenge or problem that drives the action of the story. Why is it important? Well, no conflict, no story. Without conflict, the story will have no purpose or trajectory. So whenever I am done telling stories to my students, the first question I ask them is, what is the conflict or struggle faced by the characters in the story? Why so? Because that will help me gauge the level of understanding of the learners. And finally, for the basic story elements, we have the theme. This refers to the underlying insight, the moral or idea that the writer is expressing through the story. It is often thought of as the message of the story or the central idea. Again, the basic elements of a story are the following: setting, the when and where; character, the who of the story, person or animal or anything personified; plot, the what of or the sequence of events. You can use the plotline diagram discussed by Ma'am Eileen last week to easily help you identify significant events in the story. Conflict, the struggle or problem faced by the character or characters in a story. Remember, no conflict, no story. And theme, the central idea. Now that we're done discussing the basic elements, I believe you're now ready to learn about the advanced story elements. First on the list, the point of view. To identify the POV in a story, students must ask, who is telling the story? Is it at first, third, or even second narrator? But that's rare. Are they omniscient or limited in perspective? Does the perspective shift between different characters? Well, identifying the POV is simple. You just have to focus on who is telling the story. First person, I, the character himself, tells the story. Or third person, using third person pronouns he, she, it. There is a narrator telling the story, the most common perspective in works of fiction. And second person, you, which is not often used for writing stories. When it comes to perspective or mental viewpoint, limited, one character's perspective; multiple, many characters' perspectives; or omniscient, all-knowing narrator. Aside from the POV, we also have the tone. A writing's tone is established through word choices, use of literary devices, grammar, rhythm, and rhyme. Tone is the overall flavor of the story that is created by using all of these techniques combined. It is the attitude the writer displays towards their subject or theme. Is it happy, funny, sad, or depressed? Tone can be portrayed in multiple ways through word and grammar choices. Choice of theme, image or imagery and description, symbolism, and the sounds of the words in combination. Are we getting across? Great. Next is an advanced element that is related to tone in many regards. Style. It is the individual author's unique voice, and it is again evidenced in their word choices, plot patterns, sentence structures, etc. The writer's personal style is a strong contributor to a writing's tone. In other words, this is how things are said. Word choices, sentence structure, dialogue, metaphor, simile, hyperbole. Style contributes significantly to tone. Since we are talking about emotional appeal, let's discuss mood. It is about the effect the writer creates in the reader and how they evoke it through their use of language. In relation to tone and style, mood is another element that creates an emotional setting that surrounds the readers. It is referred to as the atmosphere of a literary piece that may be developed through various methods, including setting, theme, tone, and diction. We're almost done. Another important element is genre. This element tells us the type of story or literary work. It may be fiction or non-fiction. According to dictionary.com, fiction, the class of literature comprising works of imaginative narration, especially in prose form, while nonfiction is the branch of literature comprising works of narrative prose dealing with or offering opinions or conjectures upon facts or reality. In short, fiction based from imagination, nonfiction based from reality. Fiction like drama, fable, fairy tale, legend, mythology, folklore, sci-fi, short story, and many more. Nonfiction such as biography and autobiography, essay, speech, etc. Do you know what I like best between the two? It's nonfiction. Because these literary works make me curious to know things and help in improving the ability to perceive the situations and contradict ideas with your own intellect. Like the novel The Little Prince or Le Petit Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And finally, we have critique, the reader's personal thoughts and opinions on story or book. This is where you write or you mention your likes and dislikes. Is everything clear? I hope you're able to get the gist of our discussion. Use the heart emoji if you do. Let's have a quick recap. The advanced elements are the following. POV or point of view. Who is telling the story? Is it first person, I, third person, he, she, it, or there is a narrator telling the story? Tone, the attitude the writer displays towards their subject or theme. Style, this is how things are said. Mood, the emotions that you feel while reading, listening, or even viewing a story. Genre, the type of literary work, fiction or non-fiction. Critique, this is where you mention or take note of your likes and dislikes on a certain literary work. Now that we're done familiarizing ourselves with the elements of a story, both basic and advanced, it's time for us to put things into perspective. Based from literacyideas.com, story elements are important for the following reasons. First, it expands comprehension. Understanding how a story is organized is necessary for students to access the highest levels of comprehension of that story. Secondly, it assists with recall, understanding the story flow and the elements in it also provides students with a frame of reference that greatly assists with recall or how you remember the story. And finally, it improves writing. It helps students organize their thoughts and to competently weave together the various threads of their own stories. For your queries and clarifications, just simply type your questions, if there is any, in the comment section, and I will try my best to address them. You have a minute to send us your questions, and our teacher moderator in the person of your team will be gathering them. I will be right back after 60 seconds. And your time is up. I will now be reading the questions you have posted in the comment section. Thank you to our teacher moderator for gathering the questions. The questions, which will not be addressed today, will be discussed and answered by your subject teacher in the follow-up discussion tomorrow. Let's have the first question from Arcong Baton National High School. Is it important for us students to recognize the story elements? That's a good question. If you can identify and describe literary elements, you are better able to interpret and respond to a text. You will then have the capacity to understand the author's message and purpose. Again, I would like to emphasize the story element or story elements are important for the following reasons. It expands comprehension, assists with recall, and improves writing. Key in the heart emoji, if you agree. Next question is from a learner of Malinta National High School. Can a story be complete without a conflict? Interesting. In literature, a conflict is a literary device characterized by the struggle between two opposing forces. It is essential or an important element because it provides a deeper meaning in a narrative while highlighting characters' motivations, values, and weaknesses. In short, this element is indispensable. And another inquiry is from Paso de Blas National High School. Can the protagonist of the story also become the antagonist? You made me think about that. First and foremost, some story characters are very complicated. They can be multifaceted. The primary character can become a villain, but still have good intentions. Or in some narratives, if there is a battle within the character or an internal conflict, as we say, maybe there are forces pushing him to do awful things, but still manages to overcome them and be the good guy in the end. Our learners have posted thought-provoking questions today. Again, those which have not been addressed yet will be discussed thoroughly by your English teachers during our follow-up discussion tomorrow. Thank you for sending us your questions. Those are really, really good ones. I am happy that I'm able to capture your interest and share new learnings to you. I am now confident that you'll be able to answer all the succeeding activities in the activity card and evaluation card of your learning pocket. Read the instructions carefully. You can go back to the guide card if you want to look at the important points of today's discussion. Ask help to your parent or guardian when necessary. Enjoy the process of learning. Your English teachers will be checking on your progress in your follow-up discussion via Facebook Messenger, Google Meet, or Zoom. They will be there ready to elaborate and explain further if you missed something, and they will help you process your outputs in each activity of the learning pocket. Once again, I am Sir Noelita Reyes, your live streaming teacher. Thank you for watching. Tune in again in our next Valenzuela Live. Always remember, in any situation, education must continue. Stay home, stay safe, God bless everyone, enjoy the rest of the day. I'll go ahead and check out some books in this library. Bye!